listening to Food Rebels and welcome. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs and live on-air tastings. A show that's dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world where we celebrate the people who have challenged the status quo. We'll be giving you a peek behind the curtains and inside the minds of the people who are shaking up our food industry. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp, taste expert, food writer, great taste food judge, and of course, business owner. I love meeting new people and tasting new foods. So, sit back as we hear more stories from people in food who dare to be different. This week, we're talking about drinks with a bit more of a sort of conscious theme. I'm really not necessarily advocating for dry January. All respect to those who go for it. But for me, it feels a bit too extreme. I just become a little bit more careful, I think, in January. I try and do the zebra striping, one non-alcoholic drink for every alcoholic drink, and just go a little bit slower, a little bit more restful. I've just finished reading Catherine May's beautiful book, Wintering, which is all about just going a little bit slower, leaning into it, enjoying it. So on the show today, we're going to be meeting some more conscious drinks brands. And we've got Botivo, which is a lovely non-alcoholic aperitivo spirit drink. It's a sort of sipping drink, absolutely beautiful. Drinkwell, which was the lovely Tom Bell who came on with his low-calorie wine. Sprigster as well, which is a sort of a bit more of a wine alternative. And if we have time, we will catch up with Ivo from the very eco-conscious Sapling Spirits, which is not non-alcoholic, but it is, I think, it's a lot better for the environment. But we're kicking off this week with the lovely Imma from Botivo, the big sipping, botanical, intensely fresh, citrusy, beautiful drink that is Botivo, the non-alcoholic spirit. Well, hello. I'm really excited to introduce Imma Ermgassen. Welcome, founder of Botivo.
Hi, nice to be here.
So nice to meet you. Tell me about Botivo.
So Botivo, for those that don't know it, it's a big sipping botanical aperitivo. That's what we call it. It's non-alcoholic, but also people use it with alcohol. But the product itself has got a sort of very bittersweet, herbal, citrusy taste profile. And we make it ourselves in Hertfordshire on Lanwick Farm, or my co-founder does. And the product has no flavorings, no essences, no preservatives. So it takes over a year to make the liquid, which is quite mad. So it is an aged apple cider vinegar base, then infused with rosemary, thyme, gentian, wormwood, orange zest, and honey.
Wow.
Yeah, it's delicious. And then you serve it with soda water and a slice of orange.
Wicked. I've got all of that kit here ready. We'll do a tasting in a little bit. So are you based in Hertfordshire then?
Well, no. So our office is in London, but Sam, my co-founder, who's the maker, he makes it in Hertfordshire. So we kind of have a dual base. But all the officey stuff happens in London, and then all the making happens in Hertfordshire.
So how did it start? How do you and Sam know each other?
Actually, you know what, we didn't. It's quite. I kind of love the story how it came about, because I often think within the non-alcoholic category, how these brands come about is someone has gone sober or someone's pregnant and they found nothing out there, so then they thought, I'm going to create something, to fill this space. And we sort of stumbled upon it in a much, I guess, more organic way in my mind. Sam actually has another company called Rum Runner, which creates the drinks for really high net worth private clients. So he's basically an amazing drinks maker. And he was handpicked to do all the drinks for Royal Wedding 2018. He did like Calvin Harris's wedding recently, etc.
No way. Is he like a mixologist? What kind of a drinks maker is he?
I don't know. Well, the company just like puts on, makes the drinks for these amazing events, but they're kind of famous because they make them all from scratch. So he'd always make the mousse from scratch and, all kinds of drinks for like the bars at these events. So he started off actually as a chef and then a bartender and then still has this company. Anyway, Botivo was created because all these quite demanding clients were like, I want something that is all natural, no preservatives, no flavoring, something for our non-drinking guests effectively. And Sam realized that nothing that followed that brief existed sort of in the market. So he actually created the drinks to serve or created Botivo, the liquid, as a drink to serve at these events. And then basically people kept coming up and saying, where do I buy this delicious thing at the end of events?
Oh, Oh, that's amazing, because it's so true, isn't it? When you're not drinking for whatever reason, so often people give you elderflower and sparkling water, and you just think, oh my God, no more sickly elderflower and sparkling water. I'm sick of it. I want something complex and interesting and bittersweet, like you say, that I can actually drink a bit more of it. When there's too much sugar, you just start to feel really icky, don't you?
Yeah, and you get that kind of fuzzy teeth thing. I always get that when I drink sugary drinks. Anyway, so
and you get a hangover from it as well. The sugar gives you a hangover, I find.
100%. I wake up in the night at sort of 3 a.m. like, why am I awake? Because the sugar sort of metabolizes. But anyway, he then bottled it, and that's actually when I came into the picture. So it was a kind of cottage industry he had on the side. So he had a website and he was sort of selling a couple hundred bottles, and I tried it in that at a friend's house, someone who had bought it from his website randomly, and I became completely obsessed with it. And
Really?
Yeah, and I'm an alcohol drinker. Like, I actually am not someone who would normally engage with a non-alcoholic category. Even now, I actually don't really. But I just love Botivo so much that I just was drinking it like every day, every evening, like you name it. And I just thought I have to be part of this, because if I'm loving it and I'm the least likely person to actually want to, engage this category in some ways, then it's on something really special. And then randomly, I then went to a wedding, which Sam was at, and we sort of met on the dance floor. And
no way.
Sort of randomly, through serendipity, I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with that liquid. So then I came on because my background was branding, and sort of basically went home that night after the wedding and wrote a huge proposal for how I wanted to be his business partner. And I wanted to redo the whole bottle and the brand and relaunch it. And he luckily, was looking to take it to the next level. And so I came on board 2 years ago and redid everything. And that's where we are now.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness, you guys have done so well in such a short space of time. That's incredible.
The was actually only March last year, so it's really only a year and a half since the bottle in the world, as you see. So it feels like longer.
Next, we're catching up with Tom Bell, who is the rebel behind Drinkwell. And he's created a range of lower sugar and therefore lower alcohol wines, which is called Traces. Kind of perfect for our modern lifestyles. Well, hello, Tom.
Hello, everyone.
Tell us a little bit about Drinkwell.
So Drinkwell has been going for over 12 years, and we are an online marketplace for the better for you alcohol category. So we have loads of wines, beers and spirits that you can choose from online, delivered to your home. And then more recently, we've developed a beverage division, which basically learns everything that we've sold, learns about everything that we've sold. And then we funnel all that information and create products ourselves that perfectly tick the box for what our consumers want. So we've got over 125,000 customers that have come through Drinkwell. They've discovered products that they didn't know existed before. They've been educated about how these products could exist and how they're made. And it's not by hocus pocus. It's not by chemicals and problems. We find products that are naturally made. Our blueprint is if they are naturally made and naturally low in alcohol, and they're made in a process that removes or reduces the sugars, carbs and calories, they can be part of our portfolio. What we've basically done with Drinkwell is go through all this learning and selling millions of bottles of wine, cases of beer, bottles of spirits. And then we've developed a beverage division. And over the last 3 years, it's been my goal as a business is to have a beverage division that has filtered down all the data of every product that we've ever sold. Because it's online, we have that data. And then we've filtered it into a funnel that gives us the perfect product that our customer wants. And then we've gone away and created our wine brand, which is called Traces.
You basically found the hole in your portfolio and like you're creating now a product for it.
It's almost like the Holy Grail. It's everything we've ever sold. Why, what varietal, what strength, what region, what style, what palette, what flavour, everything. And then create a product. Let's get that blueprint. Let's send it out to the market. Let's figure out what winemaker can do that. And let's get it produced. So we've created a brand called Traces. Traces stands for a number of things, but the A, C and S in Traces stands for alcohol, calories and sugar and sustainability, doubled up on the S. Traces is the fact also that it leaves no trace on the earth, in that it's a fully sustainable wine brand as well. So the alcohol is 11%. 10.5 was really the cutoff, because when you go down there, you start to get a poorer palate and a poorer mouthfeel. And actually you need sugar to replace some of that mouthfeel. And that's what you tend to see a lot in the market at the moment, is big brands ticking boxes that they have to do a lighter alcohol product, and they sacrifice adding loads of sugar to those products to give it some mouthfeel. It's 78 calories. So the C for calories is 78. Negate, and we're completely sugar-free, fermented out to dryness, and it's a sustainable wine brand. So it's a HVE certified winery. It goes in an eco bottle. It's naked neck with a natural cork, so it's 100% recyclable. So we're ticking a lot of those boxes that our consumers were so desperate for, but they were getting it from 3 or 4 different wines, and we've just tried to compile it all into one.
That's amazing. Where is it made?
We work with an incredible winery in the south of France. Guillaume is our head winemaker, has worked for a number of years with us. So I've been working on this for sort of 4.5 years of trying to create this product. And it took us a couple of vintages to get it right. Mm-hmm. And the last 3 vintages have been absolutely incredible. And on the last 2 in particular, we've got multiple IWC and IWSC awards.
Wow.
Which is great.
So that's the International Wine and Spirit Challenge, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. You know, for a mid-strength wine that's lighter in calories, completely sugar-free, it's one of the first brands to ever been able to do that and actually create a product that's good enough to stand up on a blind tasting against incredible wines from all over the world with, you know, master of wine judges that can sit there on a blind tasting and say, this is actually a half decent wine. Yeah. Negating the fact of everything else and why we want it to be what it is with calories and sugars and better for the consumer. Negate that. It's a good wine.
So the white, is that a particular type of grape?
The white is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. Mm-hmm. The rosé is 100% Grenache. And the red is 100% Cinsault. So not a common grape that you'd normally
I haven't heard of Cinsault.
You know, you normally eat Pinot Noir and Shiraz and Merlot, etc. But a Cinsault is a really common grape used in a lot of red wines, especially from France. Mm. You just don't hear it a lot because it tends to be blended into other varieties. Yeah. And that tends to be because consumers, you know a bit more about a Merlot, so they'll probably pick up a Merlot. Cinsault is a wonderful product because it's one of the only red grapes that will run that Precose, that early ripening process, and it will still give you a really good, fruity, palatable product when you completely ferment it out to dryness.
Incredible. Now, I've never heard of this term, fermented out to dryness. So there's different points where you would stop the fermentation. Is that the issue? And then
so in winemaking in general, alcohol volumes in wine have just been going up for years, for decades. You know, now you're on the averages on some regions are like 14-15%. And it's been a problem for the wine industry in total of trying to reduce the total alcohol in those wines. What they're having to do in most places, or almost this tick box attitude that we have in the wine industry, is we need something that's lighter, so let's just mechanically de-alcoholize that wine. And when you de-alcoholize, you just strip everything out of that wine that's natural, and that's like the quality and the palate and the berries or any aromas that you get through, it's gone. Because we start with less sugar, we just work with quite active yeasts that then completely ferment every ounce of sugar that's left in that grape out to alcohol. So because we're starting with less, we need to really work hard on that yeast to keep it active, and we do things in the winemaking process that improves that yeast activity and improves that fermentation. So when it comes to the end of that winemaking process, there is nothing else to convert. All the aromas are in there. It's not been filtered. It's a genuine natural winemaking process, and the product that you get at the end of it hasn't been touched at all.
Next, we're catching up with Piers Milburn, who is the brains behind Sprigster. Sprigster is a range of different non-alcoholic drinks. They've got their Garden Brut, which is like a delicate, sparkling fizz, as well as an original botanical infusion, which is like a spirit alternative. Really beautiful ingredients. Georgie and I tasted them on air, and they're crafted from ingredients sourced and locally grown from their gardens in Wiltshire. That's really exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about your background as well, Piers?
Absolutely. So 7 years ago, my wife and I stumbled upon a magical walled garden in Wiltshire, and we set about creating a company called Spriggs Co., which celebrates all things nature through vibrant experiences, whether that's food, drinks, glamping, weddings, and all sorts. And we built a restaurant within the garden, which has an ethos around sustainability, and we're driven daily to use whatever we can grow in the garden until we run out, and then we look to like-minded suppliers in the area to bolster our supplies. So a sustainable restaurant with an ethos around zero waste. So our drinks range came about through doing lots of research into what went well together. So we went out into our garden and we started making drinks from homegrown ingredients for our guests in the restaurant. Spriggs, in its first incarnation, is a mixture of hops, rhubarb, ginger, fennel, and apple.
Hops.
Hops,
Oh,
which
that's-
grow against
yeah.
the south-facing wall in the
Love
garden.
the flavour-
so the
flavour of hops.
Yeah, hops gives you a really good bittering and effect and a dryness to the drink, which balances really well with the sweetness of the apple. And then you've got the tart gooseberries and rhubarb.
It's delicious.
And the fennel seeds just for a little bit of anise, actually. So it just provides a nice little bit of warming spice.
And would you drink that neat?
Yes, you can. You can drink it neat. Typically, you'd mix it with your favourite mixer. So it's a very diverse drink or a very flexible drink. So it's really good on its own as a digestif. Really good with a simple mixer over ice with a slice. Or if you're a creative type and you love making cocktails, you can really get busy with Sprigster as a kind of key ingredient in alcoholic or non-alcoholic cocktails. Yeah, I should say it's completely non-alcoholic, but it does have a kind of grown-up, sophisticated, boozy mouthfeel to it.
It's
really
got that
does.
acidicness to it that I really like.
So
I think
good.
that's the apple cider vinegar,
it's
isn't
like,
it?
it's almost like a
warmth.
Yeah.
of the side vinegar.
Like when you get that alcohol burn a little bit, but it gives you that warmth,
Exactly.
that really full-bodied mouthfeel.
The cider vinegar is in there for the astringency, really. So to give it, and also 2024. It's definitely the year for drinks with health benefits, and people are looking more and more not just to cut down on drinking, but actually to make a positive move towards drinking healthier drinks.
So has that got sugar in it?
There's no added sugar.
No added sugar at all.
No added sugar.
How has it got that sweetness to it?
from the apples?
Really?
So yeah, we have an orchard at the bottom of the garden. We grow probably enough apples at the moment for about 12,000 litres of apple juice, which we make an apple reduction from. So we bubble that down, and you get a really lovely sweet toffee-like syrup.
Yeah.
And that's how we sweeten the drink. So it does have sugars in it, but it doesn't have added sugar, and that's the important thing. And so, yeah, the drink is 100% natural. We're really incredibly proud of that. A lot of drinks on the market are full of sugar and nasties and preservatives. Our drink contains nothing but whole fruit and botanicals.
And how long does it last? What's its shelf life?
So opened, if you keep it in the fridge, it can last 3 months.
Wow.
Unopened, we've got a year, even without the preservatives.
That is such a beautiful alternative, isn't it?
Really nice. Really nice.
Really good.
Much more complex and interesting, with a much longer finish and a better mouthfeel than a lot of the kind of non-alcoholic spirits that are on the market that are a bit sad.
It's wonderful to hear. It's certainly gone down a treat in the restaurant. And then from this first incarnation of Sprigster, we then developed a sparkling version, which is our Garden Brut. So
Is this the one you've put in a champagne glass here?
exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So just slightly cloudy. Both drinks are, in fact, because they're unfiltered. So we leave them. We skip the filtration process just to ensure that we keep maximum flavour.
And this has got 2 stars at Great Taste, and you've
Indeed,
just won. Is it an award
So
at the?
the inaugural World Alcohol Free Awards, it took place about a year ago. I think they're just accepting entries for the second year now. So we entered our sparkling, sat back, and we had that sort of long wait, and then eventually, the news came through, and we were delighted. Awards are fantastic. They really. It just sort of keeps you confident that you're on the right track, and it's great to get that sort of expert reaction.
I mean, this is this is so lovely.
I must say, I do drink a lot of these. My partner doesn't drink, and she is going to love this. I mean, we've had so many of the non-alcoholic spirits I've tried, and they just fall so short. This is hands down like the best non-alcoholic.
It's the length, right? Isn't
so
it?
good.
You need the length and the complexity. Otherwise, you just glug it like an apple
That's
juice.
what I was just thinking.
And you think, this doesn't really feel grown up. Whereas this, you're sipping this because there's a lot going on, and you don't immediately rush to get the next sip, not because it's not delicious, but you're actually savouring it and
Yeah.
enjoying all the different things going on.
It's not like a thirst quencher. It's not like an apple juice that you pick up and you just down. That you want to save that. And this,
It does feel special. And
It does.
It's sort of, you would open this. You can open this with friends. You can have it with food. It's designed for savouring a moment, whatever moment that might be. It might be a moment alone. You might be on a family picnic. It's a very sort of flexible, diverse drink. Yeah.
it also tastes grown up.
It's because it's dry, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't taste like a juice.
For me, it's the hops that bring
That
that
blend
sort
that,
of
yeah.
that lovely
Sort of
bitterness.
tannic
And actually, when you
quality.
pour it, the texture of it's a bit like you've got a sort of Somerset dry cider vibe. You've got it actually
Yeah.
looks a bit like a beer. You've got a head on it which is quite thick. It's quite a sort of dense head, and so it's and as you can see on your glass, you've got the sort of remnants of the foam on the glass there. So it does feel it's got this sort of the texture of a beer and the sort of bitterness of an ale. And there's lots going on.
I really loved meeting Ivo from Sapling. They make the most fantastic range of different spirits. There's a climate positive vodka, they do a gin, and I think it's a wonky fruit, raspberry and hibiscus in the range as well. It's absolutely beautiful. All their vodka is distilled from British wheat, and they distill it, I think he said something like 4 times to get that really clean, crisp, natural taste. And it's good for the environment, or certainly better for the environment. It's award-winning sustainable spirit. So let's hear more from him.
What made you want to start a vodka brand to begin with?
It really started actually with the kind of sustainability aspect first. So I guess the spirits itself was more of a conduit towards our kind of end goals. And it started really because of a music festival that my business partner and I set up a few years before. I guess whilst setting up this music festival, so the foundation of the event was about trying to educate people on sustainability, but also mixing it in with a really fun, enjoyable event. That festival actually started because of a tree planting project that we were doing off the west coast of Scotland, where about 150,000 trees had burnt down, and we were there trying to replant these trees and figuring out how can we get more of the locals involved in this tree planting project. And we found out quite quickly just asking people to come and plant trees with us in the middle of winter in Scotland was not working for obvious reasons. And so we ended up landing on the idea of turning it into a kind of tree planting party where we plant trees in the day. And we built a little mini cocktail bar, rented some speakers, and turned it into a party in the evening. So we essentially kind of, in return for their free labour, we gave them an awesome event in the evening. And it worked really well. We got about 80 of the locals involved, all kind of different age ranges from 18 to kind of 65-year-old people, all kind of mucking in together. And then we turned it into a music festival the year after that was a bit more official. And while setting that up, found out quite quickly that there weren't any spirits brands that we felt aligned with the mission of the music festival, which was about bringing people together for a fun time, but also having a positive impact on the planet. And so that was kind of, I guess, the moment where we decided, let's quit our jobs and make a vodka brand.
But looking after trees is actually a full-time job. I mean, it's not just about planting it, is it? I mean, you have to go back and you have to water them and you have to make sure that they see through their life cycle. You know, it's not just plop one in. So how do you manage all that?
So it completely depends on the project that we're doing, but you're right, maintenance is as important. And so the projects vary. We either have private land projects where we'll work with the Woodland Trust. So we'll find landowners, we'll fund the projects in partnership with the Woodland Trust, put together the volunteers, quite often bartenders and kind of spirits buyers and things like that from our side. So that's one way of doing it. And at that point, it's the landowner's responsibility to actually do the maintenance. And they have to actually uphold, in order to kind of maintain their grant through the Woodland Trust and ourselves, they have to have a 75% survival rate. If they don't, they have to pay for the replanting themselves. So it's a kind of, there is a kind of
initiative
in making sure those trees survive. The other projects that we have are in partnership with tree planting charities. So we work with charities like Trees for Cities. And again, once we've kind of paid for the trees to go in the ground and helped out with the volunteers, it's kind of the onus is on the charity to make sure that the trees survive. But you know, they care as much as we do about making sure those trees survive too. So it slightly depends on the project.
And then one of the other things that you do is you have refills.
Is that what this pouch is here?
That's what that pouch is, yeah.
There's a kind of beautiful looking pouch with the design on the front of it, but it's just got a kind of, what is this? What would you call this?
A spout,
in the
a kind of nozzle, yeah, exactly. For you.
So you buy your beautiful bottle, and then instead of having to buy the bottle every time, you can just fill it up with this pouch.
Exactly. And so there's a fully circular free post system as well. So rather than making it really kind of nightmarish for the end customer to recycle the pouch, they can just chuck it into a post box. There's a free post system on it, and it'll get sent straight back to us for refilling and recycling.
Oh wow! Look at this. There's like a stamp on the back, and it says, "Dear Postie, these empty pouches are not rubbish and are part of a free post scheme. They will make their way back to us if you're kind enough to return them to depot."
Exactly.
Love it.
So we try and
Really
make it as easy as possible for the end consumer to do it. And so we actually bought these out about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We're the only spirits brand on Ocado to have a kind of refill pouch, and we're kind of trialing it out with them at the moment. And hopefully down the line, the likes of Waitrose, etc., will be behind it. But we started really with our B2B refill scheme. So we sell 5-litre eco boxes, we call them, into bars, hotels and restaurants.
Nice.
And we stocked about 130,000 bottles essentially from being produced last year just through the refill scheme.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, and the glass production makes up about 75% of the actual carbon output of each bottle. So just cutting that glass out makes a huge difference.
And these cost less, presumably, than the original bottle?
Yeah, they're about sort of £4 cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not paying for the price of the bottle each time, so you've actually got that
yeah, so there's an incentive.
Saving.
Yeah, there's a saving incentive as well, yeah.
And you're B Corp? I see
We're
this.
B Corp.
I imagine you got B Corp quite easily since your value chain is pretty robust.
Yeah, we're actually, I think we're the 3rd or the 4th highest scoring B Corp in spirits in the world, actually.
No way.
So yeah, we score about 111 points and as you can imagine, a lot of that's due to our sustainability initiatives. But as you know, with B Corp, it's kind of a holistic approach across the business.
The whole thing.
It's delicious. Can we try this gin? I think you've poured us out a gin. Love to hear what Helen thinks about it.
I'm intrigued by the gin because I'm not a big spirits drinker, and I can't remember ever actually sipping a vodka, as you say, and enjoying the sipping. And actually, I enjoyed both of those, particularly the raspberry. So let's see.
That's very kind of you to say.
See how you do with the gin.
So the gin
smells lovely.
It does.
Like really botanical, but in a really nice way.
Lovely.
So it's a citrus and juniper-led gin. But like you were saying before, there's all these gins that have got kind of 1,000,001 different botanicals from the moon and beyond. And with our gin, we just really wanted it to be as simple as it possibly could and be as much about the quality of the liquid as it is as much about the kind of flavours involved. So as I said, it's very much a kind of citrus-led with a nice juniper kick to it as well.
Well, I have to say that
it's lovely.
Might be the first time I've actively enjoyed a gin.
Really?
Without,
we're just.
I'm gonna top it up a little bit with my mixer now, but
we've just put a little bit of Fever Tree pink grapefruit soda in, which is obviously not a tonic, but actually goes really well, really doesn't it? It's really lovely.
That's kind of a summer cocktail in a glass there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fresh, lively, leaves a really nice citrus finish. Lovely.
Great. I'm glad you all like it.
Oh, I love it. I really love the concept. And the gin, it comes in a box. Is that one of your is that something that you would normally give to a bar or a restaurant rather than what you would buy at home?
So that's the 5-litre eco refill box. So those are all just for businesses, and I kind of they're never front of house, always behind.
Sure.
And people refill the bottle. So each bar would, on average, each year would buy between 6 and 12 bottles, and then we'll use those for the rest of the year to fill them up. Yeah.
And where can people listening to this? Where are you stocked? Where can people buy your bottles?
We're launching into Waitrose sort of middle of February. So
awesome.
So I guess by now it should be there.
Yeah.
And Ocado, we're on Virgin Airlines, which is very exciting, and Fortnum & Mason, Fenwick, Selfridges, those kinds of places.
And what price is it?
Yeah. Sorry, how I was going to say.
So it's about between £30 and £35, depending on where you're buying it.
Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK and further afield. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars or follow us. It makes such a difference, not just to our podcast and radio show, but it really helps to support the guests that come on the show with us. We're also on Instagram at @food_rebels. So give us a follow, do get in touch. We love hearing from you and let us know what you think. Thanks so much for joining us and make sure you taste the rebellion.